So we have more unemployed right now than the peak of the Great Depression. In 1933, the peak of the Great Depression, there was 15 million unemployed. And that represented 25% of the labor force. 25%, 15 million. And we're at 17 million unemployed today. I haven't even looked at the news, so maybe there might be another 27 million unemployed. But 17 million unemployed is the total, and yeah, I know there's different populations, but the total amount, 17 million today are unemployed, 15 million in 1933. So that means there's more total unemployed today in 2020 than the peak of the Great Depression. But more on that in a second. Okay, so the Federal Reserve Chair, Jerome Cornelius Powell, he announced that the Fed is going to buy a bunch of junk bonds. And so, we've been buying treasuries, U.S. backed securities, a bunch of Japanese and Chinese currency. Now we're going to buy a bunch of junk bonds, right? We got to make sure all these corporations, all these bankers, all these Wall Streeters and hedge fund managers, make sure they get a nice golden parachute, right? Make sure they're taken care of. Make sure they're tucked in bed. Make sure they get all their Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So we're going to buy junk bonds now, a.k.a. this high-yield corporate debt. So we're going to buy a bunch of high-yield corporate debt. Junk bonds. Fucking junk bonds. That's what we're investing in. Fucking junk bonds. Yeah, and in other news, the U.S. government's going to start buying some algae and toe fungus and some white trash. 5 gallons of white trash and also a 5-year-old, long-term raw sewage. The U.S. government isn't investing trillions in junk bonds. It's not just investing trillions in junk bonds while 500,000 homeless people sleep in our streets. We're also going to invest trillions in just plain junk. Just plain junk. The 3 main elements of the Federal Reserve, just for review, because this is the central bank, America. This is your central banking system, America. You have the Federal Reserve, which is a 7-member board, but there's 2 vacancies. So you got 5 people that represent the Fed today. And Jerome Powell's leading that. It represents total 3,000 banks in the United States. It represents the banks. It represents the U.S. Treasury. There's no accounts for the American people, so it doesn't represent the American people whatsoever. So you got the Federal Board, which is 5 people. Then you got the Federal Open Market Committee, which is 10 people today, and it controls the money supply, i.e. our monetary policy. So the FOMC controls our money supply, whether we expand it or contract it, whether we print a whole shit ton up and give it to the homeless people and give it to the working class and give it to the American people, or if we're just going to invest in a whole bunch of, corporate high-yield junk bonds, commercial paper derivatives, credit default swaps, whatever legal fiction they come up with next when it comes to. And then the third element is the 12 dirty dozen banks. So you got the Fed board, 5 people. You got the Federal Open Market Committee, the FOMC. So the FOMC is 10 people. And then you got the 12 dirty dozen banks, which is 12 presidents, and the board of directors, 9 board of directors. So 9 board of directors, 12 presidents, 9 board of directors per bank. So 9 times 12 is, 108, maybe? 9 times 12, yeah, sure, we'll go with that. So 108. That's how many board of directors. So you got it's a corporate structure, right? So they got the president, who's like the CEO, and then they got the board of directors, and then that's it. So that's the whole banking, that's the whole entire Federal Reserve System. When people say the Fed, that's what they're talking about. Because the Fed is, there's some Federal Reserve banks. There's a Kansas City Fed Bank. I never knew, that, anyway, so the Kansas City Fed Bank, it represents Colorado, so that's why I know that. The $4.5 trillion Wall Street bailout, the a.k.a. CARES Act. We care about you, America. The CARES Act cares, like Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act. Okay, so that's It's a good little, anagram, but cares? Hey, we cares. You cares, huh? We really cares about you, America. We cares about you. We cares about you. So Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act. That's, $2.2 trillion is how much they're printing up. $500 billion is going to the corporate program. They ballooned that up somehow to $4.5 trillion. I guess the money multiplier effect, or maybe the, I don't know. The CARES Act is 808 pages long. 808 pages. This is an Obamacare. 808 pages? What the fuck did they tuck into this thing? We're finding all these earmarks now, so it'll be years. We'll find out, oh shit, we gave Timbuktu, Jim Timbuktu a nice olive branch. It doesn't matter. What the fuck? You know what I mean? This is supposed to help the American people. So 808 pages. Nobody in America's read it. Nobody in Congress has read it. So nobody in America's going to read it. Nobody, I'm sure, but, our fear, Donald Jefferson Trump, he's a voracious reader. Of course he reads the bills he signs. Are you kidding? Why would he not read 808-page long bill, without reading it? Why would he sign, of course you got to. You got to write, Peter Schiff says economics, so, fuck him. So does Milton Friedman and Bernie Sanders. Max Kaiser says it too. So what the fuck, economics? They're just putting on airs. Oh, economics, I'm so smart, economics. Shut the fuck up. I guess since these assholes have been saying it for such a long time, everybody. But what the fuck? If you heard the sound economics and economics, and you were like, I'm going with economics. It's fucking economics, man. It's basic economics. It's, economics 101. Alright, so let's talk about the unemployment rate. So, okay, I know that there's a different total population. I know there's a different total population. In America, 1933, there was 7 people. Now we have, 13 billion trillion gazillion. So you just, an insane amount of people. Well, we can actually figure out, the more you look into this, the more alarming it actually gets. First it was just a kind of, interesting fact. Oh, shit, we got more unemployed. Like, they said 17 million, so what's that mean? 17 million unemployed, is that good? Is that bad? Compared to what, In the Great Recession, it was 30 million were unemployed. So the Great Recession, there was actually more people unemployed in the Great Recession so far. But that took a year to get to. And this has only taken 3 weeks. 3 weeks, 17 million unemployed? That's a quick turnaround. That's very, very fucking quick. I think it's unprecedented. It seems like it's exponentially. The Dow Jones and the stock market's, nosediving, going straight down, tanking. And because of the coronavirus and all the businesses that are freezing up, if you just think about it, we're in a recession. Just think about it for a quick second. You got the NBA, hockey, Hollywood. There's no movies. All the theaters are closed down. So what is Hollywood going to do? So people are just buying groceries and essentials and shit, right? So people aren't. We're changing shit, but we're stopping a lot of industries. A lot of industries are completely stopped. So that's a recession. We're not going to be producing, making as much stuff, so we can't, keep pace with what we've been doing. So that's okay. Let's just take a breather. Everybody take a second. Let's breathe. Count to 10. I'm not. So, how many banks closed in the Great Depression? Let me tell you, 9,000. 9,000 banks closed during the Great Depression. 9,000 banks. There's only 8,000 banks in America today. There's only 8,000 banks in America today, and 38% of them are part of the Federal Reserve System. 3,000 are part of the Fed. But there's 8,000 banks today. 9,000 bank closures? Okay, so that's 1930s. That was way back when there was segregation, right? And Social Security. They actually had, the stomach to pass Social Security. But in the 1980s, there was 1,000 banks that closed. In the 1980s, this is just 40 years ago. Less than 40 years ago. So during the S&L crisis in the 1980s, 1,400 1,043 savings and loans banks closed down out of 3,234. That's a third. So, just to compare and contrast, if more banks, you can't have more banks closed because they had more banks than we did in the Great Depression, 9,000. In the 1980s, they also had savings and loans banks, like, Peter Bailey or George Bailey, It's a Wonderful Life, kind of savings and loans that actually help people get into home ownership. Wow, over 1,000 savings and loan banks failed in the 1980s. Thanks, Ronald Reagan. Thanks a fucking lot, Ronnie. Anyways, 1933, this is the worst year for the Great Depression. This is the worst year for the Great Depression. 25% of the active labor force is unemployed, and that represents 15 million. 15 million people. So I know the total, population. It's different, but how much different? Check it out. Look into this thing. Look at the math even closer. So, let's see. The math. First, Democrats pushing for universal unemployment. Oh, shit. I think I'm going to have to break and come back. No, the show must go on. Okay. Breathe. Breathe, America. Just breathe. Now let's count to 10. So the fact that the Democrats pushed for the $1,200 payment and the unemployment benefits turned out to be very prescient. 17 million. That's smart. 17 million unemployed. So good thing we got some unemployment insurance. But the Republican bill, they didn't talk about $1,200. They were against unemployment insurance. Fuck the unemployed, right? We got to save the corporations and the big bankers. But fuck the American people who go unemployed. So I'm not saying it's the same thing, but it is comparable, right? 1930s, that's, Social Security, and that's black people are segregated before World War II. Today, 2020, Wall Street bailouts are unanimously approved, 96-0. But in America, we don't stomach things like Social Security and universal health care, universal college, universal child care, universal basic income. No fucking way. No way. We would never have a 96-0 kind of vote with something like that. But Wall Street bailout, Wall Street is sick. Everybody on board. Come on, Democrats. Come on, Bernie and NOC. Okay, let's, for a piece of cheese and a rat trap, we sold our entire fucking system to the fat cats who already had everything anyways. The 1,000 plutocrats who run this society now have it rigged in their favor. Just in case. Just in case. And then poor-ass peasants are going to defend this shit. They don't know what the fuck's going on, but they're like, oh, we got to save the economy. They're poor. You're poor. You're not saved. Where's your bailout? Where's your liquidity? So, to compare and contrast, 30 million were unemployed in the Great Recession, but that took a year. 15 million was the worst year for the Great Depression, but that was 1933. That was 4 years afterwards. 17 million unemployed today. So there's more people today. So that fact doesn't mean, really anything to me at all. Except for this. I expect more job losses. I expect that while it's not directly comparable, the 1933 Great Depression numbers, when you consider percentage-wise, the current labor force is 165 million. 25% is 41 million. 17 is about half of that. And 40% or so. So we're on track for Great Depression numbers. So let me repeat that. Today, the current labor force in America is 165 million. We got 350 million. But the labor force, those who are able and willing to work, is 165 million. Of those who are able and willing to work, 25% would be 41 million. We're at 17 million. 41 million is right around the corner. I mean, it's just, what, just wait a month? Wait 2 months? It's right around the corner. And like I said, the Great Depression took 4 years to get, after the triggering event to get to those kinds of numbers. 4 years. It's taken 3 weeks. 3 weeks. So let's assume the trend continues. 3 weeks, 17 million. So another 3 weeks, 6 weeks, right? 34 million unemployed. Now let's another 9 weeks. So what? A month, 2 months from now, we're going to have 51 million unemployed. Well, the benchmark was 41 million. So that means in 2 months, our unemployment numbers are going to be worse than the Great Depression's worst unemployment numbers, which took 4 years to get there. It only took us 2 months. We don't even have a vaccine, so there's no end in sight for this, stay-at-home recession. And then unemployment numbers don't count everybody. There's a lot of glaring, gaping holes. You get unemployment if you've worked at a job for at least 6 months. And then it's, temporary. So maybe 2 years you get it, and then that's it. So everybody who's unemployed isn't on the unemployment rolls. If you worked at a job for less than 6 months and you were let go, you don't get factored into the unemployment rate. And if you've been unemployed for more than 2 years. So I'd always assume that the unemployment rate is higher than the official number anyway. 17 million, it's higher than 17 million already. Wait 2 months, now it's worse numbers than the Great Depression. So Melinda Gates says that vaccines are 18 months away. So yeah, wait 2 months. I do expect more job losses. We're on track for a worse Great Depression than the Great Depression itself. Economist Harry Dent, he's been saying this is the big one. This is the big one. This is the Great Depression for our generation. He might be right. I mean, we're already on track. 40%. Wait 1 month. Wait 2 months. And then 17 million jobs lost. It's 10% of the job force. 17 million of the jobs that were lost. So in March, 151 million were on the payrolls. 17 million of 151, that's 10%. More than 10% of the job force gone in 3 weeks. So shit, just wait, another 9 times the amount, and now we have 0, right? Carry that to another, 3 times 9? So in 27 weeks, if the trend continues, people are saying we're at a deep recession. I've heard that term. We're at a deep temporary recession. Deep temporary recession. The Kung Flu is kicking America's ass. We can't take a break in America for a goddamn month without the whole fucking world's economy crashing. This is a time for reflection. What kind of America do we actually... Is this the kind of America we want? We all rush to save Wall Street, but don't give a flying fuck for the sick that don't have uninsured and... kids at the border, people that were bombing Venezuela, all this police brutality, there's so many fucking things real fucking problems that's going on right now. So yeah, 10% of the whole total job force gone. That's insane. And in just 1 to 2 months, we're going to have numbers worse than the Great Depression. So let's hope it's a deep temporary recession. But to assume that it couldn't be a Great Depression, it's not a great, it's right around the fucking corner. And you should prepare. Because if it's a Great Depression lasts for 10 years. So you need to, stock up on your canned goods and your toilet paper, all that stuff. And that's it. I'm John Masters. It's 11:58 a.m. on the morning, Saturday, April 11th, 2020, Southern Colorado, USA, Milky Way, universe. Peace.